The 1960s were a golden era for American cars, and an era of unchecked engineering madness. With gas cheap, budgets bloated, and government regulations practically non-existent, automakers had one mission: build machines that no one could ignore. Prestige meant everything. ROI meant nothing. Engineers inspired by the space race and fueled by horsepower obsession pushed design boundaries far past logic, and sometimes even safety. The result? Cars that were absurdly overbuilt, wildly ambitious, and decades ahead of their time. Some were technological marvels, some were beautiful disasters, but all of them were over-engineered to the point of insanity. These are the most insanely over-engineered American cars of the 1960s. 1. Lincoln Continental, 1961 to 1969. This car was a symbol of luxury and excellence in the 60s. Ford's Lincoln had not been doing very well for itself in the 50s, and Ford was desperate for its revival. With a new era upon them, Ford deemed the timing to be perfect to launch a new beast into the market, something that would leave people in shock at a single glance. So, from early on, this car meant a lot for the brand, and when the stakes are so high, there is no other way to go about it than to go all out. Ford replaced all their Mark V models with a Lincoln Continental and concentrated all their efforts into this single piece of art. Continental went on to set a new standard of luxury and quality, despite being shorter and narrower than its ancestors. Elwood Engel was the genius designer who originally got the idea, which later went on to become the Continental. A feature of this beautiful beast that stood out particularly was its suicide doors. These doors were more than just doors. They symbolized elegance and luxury. These doors improved access to the back seat, which was very useful in formal situations. But where engineers actually started going insane was the complex convertible mechanisms of the Continental. The car simply yelled luxury out loud. The four-door convertible offered a hidden, fully automated top. The operation relied on an intricate system of 11 electric relays and multiple hydraulic pumps for coordinated trunk and top action. The system was adapted from the modern Skyliner mechanisms. However, the main attraction of this beast was hidden under its hood. The car was powered, and it was powered exceptionally well. The MEL, Mercury Edsel Lincoln engines were used to power these cars, and these juggernauts understood the assignment quite well. The feature has large displacements and focuses more on the torque production of the powerhouse. The engineers did not really care for any compact efficiency. They wanted power, real power. The engines were designed with many complexities. It was so complicated that users had to use a special fluid to keep the engine from deteriorating. The rides on these beasts were smooth and provided the drivers with an experience they could never forget. A lot of credit should also go to the exterior of the Continental. Lincoln used a unitary monocoque structure. This reduced weight, lowered the vehicle's body, improved structural stiffness, and provided excellent ride smoothness. 2. Chrysler Turbine Car, 1963. The Chrysler Turbine Car is different than the Continental in many ways. While the Continental was an automotive ambition taken too far, this car was something more. Well, after the Second World War, the experiments started getting more and more insane. The turbine car was one of these experiments, an experiment that made it to the roads of the USA. While the Continental and the turbine car may not have much in common, they do share the genius of Elwood Engel. Engel was the brain that came up with the design for this beast. The The body of the turbine car was crafted using coach-built methods in Italy. The panels were beautifully handcrafted. The assembly of this atrocity of a car was severely complicated, and the beautiful turbine bronze paint on these helped people spot them from a mile away. Well, this beast was a product of years of research into gas turbine propulsion. The aim of all this research was to translate jet technology into cars. It may seem like not a very good idea now, but performance was more important than everything during this time. The gas turbine engine used on these monsters was the pinnacle of insanity. The fourth-generation engine design had only 60 moving parts in total, compared to the 300 in a regular piston engine. That was not normal. But that is not even the craziest part. The engine could run on basically anything. Diesel, jet fuel, tequila? Yes, tequila. And if that doesn't make sense, it could also run on vegetable oil. The engineers at Chrysler were not even competing with other car manufacturers, but they were going straight for the players in the jet manufacturing market. The juggernaut could produce a torque of 425 pounds a foot from stall. The vibrations were almost non-existent due to the rotating design of the sleeve bearings. The interior on this thing was a big deal in itself. The seats were designed with beautiful bronze leather, which went perfectly with the futuristic exterior of the beast. 3. Pontiac GTO Ram Air 4, 1969. The Pontiac GTO had been in the market for the entirety of the 60s. It had reigned as the finest of muscle cars, arguably. It was a known fact that everyone knew about the GTO. By the end of the decade in 1969, the brand had been developed, and the cars were known for their unique style. These cars were celebrated by both the critics and the fans. By 1969, the GTO had begun to evolve. This was the year in which Pontiac introduced two new variants of this popular monster into the market: the GTO Ram Air 3 and the GTO Ram Air 4. The GTO Ram Air 4 was the actual deal. This variant was the most powerful option available in all of GTO cars. The engine on this beast was obviously exceptional. It was built on a 400 CI iron block, which had 4 bolt main caps. This was done to ensure the durability and ruggedness of the engine, and help it hold up well during the very high revs. The cylinder heads in the engine had round port heads with taller intake ports, which were again amazing for the overall performance of the car. These taller intake ports improved the breathing of the vehicle beyond explanation. The power rating of these beasts was a giant question mark. While the official rating was around 370 horsepower, many people with actual experiences with the car believed it to be much higher than that. Some claimed the actual horsepower production of the engine was more than 400. The name Ram Air was not just a name. Ram Air actually meant something. The twin nostrils on the hood of the car actually played a part as well. These were fully functional air vents. The cold air induction system was designed in a way that it could easily exploit the Ram Air effect when at speed. The speed of the car forced the car to take in even more air, and even more quickly, which gave the Pontiac an indeterminable edge over other vehicles, as it may not seem much on paper, but you would know what it is if you had experienced it. 4. Buick Riviera GS, 1965 to 1969. The Buick Riviera GS was a different kind of luxury. This car was something that people may have imagined once or twice and then forgotten. The vehicle was the peak of luxury. The main idea behind the car seemed to be to add the glamour of Ferrari to the elegance of Rolls-Royce. The design used for the chassis is still believed by many to be superior to others. the Buick's X-frame. This design offered the body of the Riviera a rigidity and sturdiness that made the car so strong. The aluminum fin drum brakes were carefully engineered to improve both rear and front braking significantly. These brakes were way ahead of their time, as they did not need as much pressure as most brake pedals did back in that era. The powertrain on this beast was something out of a horror show. A Super Wildcat 425 CI nailhead V8 engine, which was known for its elite performance, was mated with Super Turbine 400 turbo hydromatic 3-speed automatic featuring a variable pitch, switch pitch, torque converter. This improved low-speed response and launch performance. The exterior of this beautiful vehicle was a whole different area of excellence. The design was deliberately made as complicated as possible. They used electrically actuated clamshell headlights, which were hidden within the fender to give the car a futuristic look. The mass production of these vehicles was done so well that these cars would always be remembered. The doors and windows were adjusted before the outer door skins were applied. This gives the beast a finish that was very rare in mass-produced cars. In the 60s, this monster was offering features like front and rear bucket seats, floor-standing center console, power steering, power brakes, and tilt steering. And this is not even it. The car had options for air conditioning, power windows, seats, cruise control, and AM/FM radio, which was pretty rare to see in the 1960s. This was not just some car. This coupe was a beautiful blend of performance and luxury. It was wrapped in bold style and featured mechanisms that were not known to the commoners of the time. 5. Chevrolet Corvair, 1960 to 1969. The Chevrolet Corvair was one of the most daring cars General Motors ever put into production. Launched in 1960, it broke just about every rule of American car design at the time. Instead of the usual front-engine, rear-wheel drive layout, the Corvair featured an air-cooled flat-six engine mounted in the rear, much like a Porsche 911. It also had fully independent suspension, unit body construction, and a sleek European-inspired design. GM built it to take on rising competition from imported compacts like the VW Beetle. And in many ways, the Corvair was years ahead of its time. But all that innovation came at a cost. Early models suffered from questionable handling, especially during sudden maneuvers, and lacked a front stabilizer bar, something most economy cars had by then. The controversy exploded when consumer advocate Ralph Nader published Unsafe at Any Speed, singling out the Corvair and accusing GM of putting style over safety. The book sparked public outrage, congressional hearings, and even led to GM hiring private investigators to dig into Nader's life. Overengineered, misunderstood, and forever tied to one of the biggest safety scandals in automotive history, the Corvair remains a symbol of both innovation and hubris. These were 5 of the most insanely over-engineered American cars of the 60s. For more stories like these, subscribe to our channel. Let us know your thoughts on these beasts in the comments below. See you soon.